Good morning. I'm Cheryl Casoni. I'm in for Maria Bartiromo. It is Monday, November 3rd at 7 a.m. on the East Coast. Coming up this hour at 7:10, our Word on Wall Street panel with Anton Schutz and Gregory Farinello. At 7:20, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise is going to be here. 7:30, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. But first, time for the hot topic of the hour. President Trump and Xi Jinping coming to an agreement on a new trade deal last week, which would suspend China's investigations targeting U.S. chip makers, while the U.S. will pause some tariffs for 1 year. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang speaking with Maria on Sunday, touting the China deal while criticizing how the Biden administration handled Beijing. Here's what he said.
What does this agreement mean for you and Nvidia with regard to selling to China?
This is a milestone meeting, a milestone deal, a historic deal. You know, this really creates the conditions, I hope, for Nvidia to be able to go back and compete in market in China. Trump 45, in President Trump's first administration, he set the tone perfectly for America to lead in technology and make sure that American companies have the best and first, but for American technology companies to go around the world to compete and win. In the last 4 years, the administration really set us on a path that really backfired. The policies have really backfired. From a 95% market share in the China market, which is one of the most important markets in the world, when President Trump left office, Nvidia's market share in China is now 0%. And so this is really time, and it's a great opportunity for us to reset back to the Trump 45 policies. For the Trump 45 policies where American AI companies are able to go to China, compete in the marketplace, and be able to diffuse and proliferate American technology standards around the world so that we could set the global standards, so that the world is built on American standards, so that we could lead the world.
Wang also saying the cost of producing chips in the U.S. is worth the national security as Nvidia looks to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Watch.
Is it much more expensive to do it in the United States versus Taiwan?
It is more expensive to do it in the United States, but we're going to get better over time. You know, re-onshoring manufacturing and the first plant of its kind, it's going to cost a little bit more money, but that's okay. The national security benefits, the supply chain resilience benefits, the job creation benefits here in the United States. You know, we're going to manufacture chips, systems, and those systems are going. These AI supercomputers are going to go into what are going to be AI factories, which are going to be used by every single industry in the United States. And so this is going to create over time. You know, my guess is millions of jobs, and really, really high quality jobs, you know, from really skilled trade craft. President Trump's argument was simply that we can't afford to have the critical manufacturing of things that are technologies and products that are so important to national security be manufactured around the world and can't be manufactured here. And I think that argument is sound. It makes perfect sense, and we decided that we would go all in on bringing manufacturing back on shore.
Greg, your reaction to those comments from him?
So I watched the interview. I found it to be pretty fascinating. I thought he was brutally honest about going back to the policies of Trump 45. What we've lost in the last 4 years is really just not AI, but AI is certainly a component of that. And, you know, look, reshoring, we know it's going to be more expensive. There is an inflation component of that. AI is part of that story. He said we'll figure it out over time. I thought the most interesting thing he said, we talk about AI eliminating jobs. He's saying he thinks the build out of the infrastructure around AI could create 2 million jobs over time, which is wildly constructive.
Yeah, no, and on that point, there's actually a piece this morning from Phil Gramm, former Senator Gramm, Michael Solon. The AI revolution will actually bring prosperity. And they make the argument that every time you have a revolution, like you had the Industrial Revolution in the early 1900s in this country, that it was a major change, a major moment for the nation, but it did bring a change in how the country operated, and it led to prosperity for the United States.
And I agree with that, Cheryl, because independence has a price, but dependence, that's a cost we can't afford today. When we look at AI dominance, when we look at cyber warfare, semiconductors, all of that, in my opinion, is the new oil. And whoever controls that controls the future. That's the key to success, and that's where President Trump has doubled down. I do think we have to say the quiet part out loud. China is not a trade partner. They're a strategic adversary. They have dragged on this trade deal because they're hoping that the Supreme Court will rule against President Trump, and they're going to be wrong. So they better be very certain when they get to that place and they have to sign the deal that they're going to execute a deal and keep its promises with the United States.
That's the issue. Can you trust the Chinese? Most would say, of course, no. But at the same time, during that interview with Jensen Huang, I kept thinking to myself, obviously he's talking about the importance of the China market. But the other side of that is the Chinese stealing intellectual property from American companies, and that has been happening for decades. And I don't see an off-ramp here or enough controls from everything I've read within the agreement from last week that we can trust that they're not going to do the same thing, because China knows that the AI race is, they have got to win the AI race, and they will do whatever it takes to do that.
That's a great point. I mean, I think there's sort of the micro short term, this 1 year period where we're going to feel different things out. Monitoring that, I think, is clearly important. But to your point, Cheryl, the macro story really hasn't changed. How that evolves over time, I think, remains to be seen.
And I understand his point about the financial benefits of being in the Chinese market. Many companies would still argue that. But the risk is the question mark.
Well, and it's how do we control that risk, right? Espionage is their #1 mission for China. The fact that they bought farmland, the fact that they've infiltrated Silicon Valley. So we have to continue to be vigilant in what access we're giving. Data centers, I mean, that's a #1, 100% U.S. priority where we should not allow Chinese or, in fact, any foreign country to operate data centers, because what does that do? It's a storage of data, and we're allowing other countries to access it. How do we have certainty that we're actually protecting our IP and national secrets? So we have to be very diligent in how we continue to expand partnerships, trade deals, but keeping American interests first.
The United States has to basically invent but own the technology, the underlying technology of AI, or we risk being dominated by the Chinese.